Welcome back to Ride JBI. This is JB. Today we are finishing up our JBI Yamaha YZ450F KYB R&D test suspension. These are the KYB SSS front forks. And again, these are the Gen 2 because these forks are from a 2024 YZ450F. We bought them brand new. We did a little bit of testing with them, and then we took them apart and we did a few coatings on them, and then some additional revalving and modifications as well. And now we are at the final stage of finishing building these back up and to continue more testing. The shock we finished to a similar look or aesthetic, meaning a brown and black theme, and we continued that with the forks. The lower lugs got the Cerakote burnt bronze. The inner tubes got the JBI DLC coat. Some new SKF fork seals. The KYB kit fork protectors. Thought these would be a nice little touch. The JBI Fukushima coating for the upper tubes. The compression clicker top cap. We also had Cerakoted a matching burnt bronze. Doesn't quite exactly match the OEM cartridge color, but pretty close. I also seeked out some black screws for the center of the adjusters instead of the silver ones that are right here. Oh, you get the idea. But the cooler stuff is on the inside, meaning how we revalve these forks. We have been working with these KYB SSS forks for a very long time. They've been out since 2006, and it's been fun following the updates and changes over the years. We referenced these forks as the KYB Gen 2 forks. Most biggest feature that changed was the larger cartridge diameter and the larger mid-valve piston as well. The free piston received some updates also. Features a vent and a much more thicker, durable design, so it's less prone to breaking and cracking like the previous version. This is our Motocross spec that we have built inside of here. Complementing our JBI spec Motocross valving is our JBI volume spacer, our JBI titanium pro perch, and JBI polished springs. The polished springs keeps the oil a little bit cleaner. The springs that are rough to touch, well, they're gonna rub on the inside of your fork tube as you ride, because all springs do that. They have a slight bow as you ride, and the springs compress and flex. So any springs that are rough to touch, over time, they're gonna rub the inside of the tube, and it's gonna smooth out that part. So instead of having rough springs, let's start with some smooth ones. It's a small touch, but a nice one nonetheless. The JBI Titanium Pro Perch is what gives us some very good bottoming resistance the last few inches of travel, meaning when the fork compresses and it reaches to about this zone here is when that Pro Perch kicks in and starts giving you additional compression resistance, aka bottoming. The volume spacer is an item that we utilize when we want to manipulate the air gap or the air volume inside the outer chamber of the fork. We can manipulate that air gap by adding oil to the fork or by adding in a volume spacer. There are reasons to do this, meaning when to add oil, and other times when it is more, let's say, optimal to add a volume spacer instead. The volume spacer allows us to independently tune the air volume inside the outer chamber of the fork without changing the oil volume. Because as you add oil to the outer chamber of a fork, your spring perch is going to engage that oil earlier on in the travel. So let's say you have 300 cc's of oil in the fork and the oil volume is about up here. If you put in 350, it's going to be about up here. If you put in 400, it's going to be even higher. Now I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but you're getting the idea. Sometimes we don't want to add oil to the fork because we don't want to change when the perch engages the oil, but we still want to manipulate how progressive the fork is. And by doing that, we have to manipulate the air volume inside of it. And the volume spacer is just a way we can do that very simply. Ride JBI features complete details on everything I'm talking about. Our JBI suspension fork revalve on this fork, and then all our coating services and parts as well. So I'm going to finish building up our demo forks, and then very soon we'll be working with some riders out at the track and getting their feedback. They'll be riding their stock 2023 or 2024 Yamaha YZ450. We're going to take their suspension off, bolt on ours, and then get their feedback. I'll also be riding the bikes as well to gain some further insight and experience. regarding how our settings perform compared to the stock settings. The goal with these settings are to improve the bottoming resistance of the forks. The JBI Titanium Pro Perch is going to do a great job at that. The volume spacer is going to give the forks a more progressive feel as they move through the travel. So think much more kind of like a cloud is the best way to put it. And then the valving that we did, so the valving mod we did on the inside, is going to actually give these forks a much more smoother, comfortable ride. They're going to be a lot smoother over the small and medium bumps. It's the type of bumps that you find going into and coming out of corners. While this Yamaha suspension does work very, very well, we feel that it has a fair amount of potential left in it. And here is how we go about doing that.